All right, let's get right into it, because this is a big one. A secret memo from inside the Kremlin has just been leaked, and honestly, what's inside could flip everything we thought we knew about the global financial system on its head. This is a story about what leaders say in public versus what they're panicking about in private, and it has massive implications for, well, for pretty much everyone.
So for the last few years, right, the big public story from Russia has been all about how the dollar is dead. They've been leading this charge with the BRICS nations to go build a whole new financial world, but behind closed doors, this memo shows they're thinking about doing the exact opposite. We're talking about a proposal to run straight back to the US dollar. The difference between what they're saying and what they're doing is just wow. It makes you stop and ask, what is really going on here?
Okay, so let's look at where this is all coming from. The document itself is a 7-point proposal, and it was reportedly written by Kirill Dimitriev, who happens to be the head of Russia's entire sovereign wealth fund. So, this isn't some memo from a low-level analyst. This is from a key guy in the Kremlin, someone who totally gets the financial consequences of every single move they make.
So here are the 7 points. The proposal offers things like, modernizing their airlines with American help, joint ventures in oil and gas, and they're even offering special treatment to U.S. companies that want to come back. But let's be real, the bombshell here is point number 5. Russia offering to go back to using dollars for its energy sales. That is a geopolitical earthquake. And get this last one, a joint push for fossil fuels against climate-friendly ideology. I mean, that sounds like it was written specifically to appeal to a certain type of American administration, doesn't it?
And this, of course, brings us to the absolute core question of this whole explainer. After spending years trying to build this anti-dollar team, why on earth would Russia be waving a white flag and asking to get back in the club? To figure that out, we have to push past all the political talk and look at the cold, hard numbers.
So look, this proposal isn't about some sudden change of heart. It's about the absolutely brutal price they're paying for being locked out of the global financial system. This is about pure economic survival.
You hear this all the time, right? That China is Russia's economic safety net. Well, the data tells a very different story. The trade between them, it's big for sure, but it only makes up about 10 to 12% of Russia's entire GDP. The hard truth is, China simply can't prop up the whole Russian economy by itself. It's just not big enough.
And what about that alternative payment system they built, using rubles and yuan? Well, it kind of works, but it's clunky, it's expensive, and it has made Moscow deeply dependent on China. And apparently they are not comfortable with that at all. What was supposed to be this great partnership of equals is starting to feel a lot more like a leash, with Beijing holding the other end.
And then there is the devastating human cost of the war. Russian sources themselves admit to over 225,000 casualties. Now, for a country that already had a demographic crisis on its hands, losing hundreds of thousands of young men is not just a tragedy. It's a long-term structural economic disaster. And you have to remember, independent estimates put that number way, way higher.
Now, of course, Russia's central bank has come out and said they have no knowledge of this memo. But, as that old saying goes, never believe anything until it's officially denied. This denial just adds that classic layer of political drama, but it doesn't really change the brutal economic facts that make a proposal like this so plausible.
Okay, so here is where the story gets really, really interesting. Because this isn't just about Russia being weak. The United States also needs a deal like this, maybe even more than Russia does. Let me explain what I mean. The U.S. national debt, it's hit this absolutely mind-boggling number, $38.4 trillion. And the interest payments on that debt, they're now over $1 trillion a year. That's 14% of the entire federal budget, just on interest.
And this slide right here shows a historic moment. For the first time in modern history, the U.S. government is spending more money just paying the interest on its debt than it spends on its entire military. Think about that for a second. The financial firepower that let America win the Cold War is now being eaten away by the debt it's piled up since.
So, the big question is, how does the U.S. manage all this? Well, it's through something called the exorbitant privilege. Basically, because the whole world uses dollars for trade, there's always a global demand for them. This lets the U.S. just print more money to pay its bills, and in doing so, it basically exports its inflation problem to the rest of the world.
But here is the massive paradox, the trap America set for itself. Back in 2022, the U.S. turned the dollar into a weapon when it froze $300 billion of Russia's money. And that sent a message to every other country out there. Hey, that money you're holding in dollars, it might not actually be yours.
It gave everyone a huge reason to start looking for an alternative. So now, to keep its privilege, the US has to convince countries to come back into the very system it taught them to be afraid of.
And it is so important to understand that this whole drama, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's really just one symptom of a much, much bigger breakdown in the global order.
I mean, just look at the last Munich Security Conference. You had the leaders of Germany, France, and the United States all basically saying the same thing. The German Chancellor, the French President, the American Secretary of State, they all said in their own words that the world order we've known since the Cold War, it's over, gone. This isn't just talk, it's a shared diagnosis from the people running the show.
The investor Ray Dalio actually has a really useful way of looking at this. He talks about 5 types of conflict that usually happen before a major military war. And if you look at the list, trade wars, tech wars, geopolitical fights, and capital wars, we are actively in 4 out of the 5 right now. The pattern is pretty clear, and the stakes are getting higher every day.
So, after all that, what does this mean for us, for people trying to save, trying to invest? How are you supposed to navigate a world where it feels like all the old maps are completely useless?
First things first, it's okay to be confused. I mean, even Michael Burry, the legendary investor from The Big Short, who saw the 2008 crash coming, he recently shut down his fund, telling investors, "I don't understand these markets anymore." When a guy like that says we're in uncharted waters, you should probably listen.
So the most important takeaway is probably this. You have to reject these simple, clean stories. The dollar is doomed narrative, it's powerful, but there are strong arguments against it. The giant bond market isn't pricing in a US collapse, and America still has that incredible exorbitant privilege. The new world probably won't be total chaos. It'll likely be a messy, multipolar system. It'll be disorderly, for sure, but probably still functional. So what does intelligent diversification even look like in a world like this? It means you have to think way beyond a simple mix of US stocks and bonds. With everything we've talked about, the weaponization of currencies, the rise of new power blocks, diversifying across different countries and different currencies isn't just a good idea anymore. It's essential. It's about building a portfolio that can handle not just a market crash, but a major geopolitical shock. The old playbook is out of date. It's time to adapt.
And that really brings us to the final question, doesn't it? In a world where all the old, comfortable stories are collapsing, maybe adaptability is the only true asset we have left. Being adaptable means understanding that a secret memo out of Moscow could hit your portfolio harder than a bad earnings report. It means accepting that neat, tidy answers are a luxury we just don't have anymore. In this new world, the real asset, it might not be a stock, or gold, or a bond. It might just be the clarity to see things as they really are, and the flexibility to do something about it.